Hi.
Just waving. We're just gonna wave for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, just waving for 10, 20 minutes. I don't think anybody's here yet.
No.
That's okay.
Well, let me see what I can do about that. Let's go ahead. I'm just gonna tell people we're live. And then I'm actually gonna do a smart thing and stick in the link for your video. Seems like a smart thing to do. But
that does sound very smart.
Your thumbnails are always so nice.
Mine?
Yes, yours. No, the other person that's on the live show with us.
Oh yeah, the invisible square. Yep.
Soren's thumbnails are really nice. He does such a good job. The 5-year-old.
Yeah, he's 5, doesn't know how to go on the internet at all except for to watch Disney Plus. Yep. Mm-hmm. He's really hip with the times.
5-year-old, that's a good skill to have.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah. Anywho.
I rarely ever host live shows, so I'm always like,
how does this work?
I've been on YouTube for like 4 years. I still don't know what I'm doing.
We'll have to work on that for you.
Actually, it's more like 5. I think it's more like 5 years because I think it was 18 because Soren was only like a toddler, like 1-ish.
October 4th will be 5 years for me.
So does that mean we started around the same time? Because mine was in October too.
That's funny.
You know, we're just gonna look it up really quick.
Because I want to say we had two rounds of Indigathon before COVID happened.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay. Love that I was just still on a video there. Cool.
Oops. So I can't remember. But I know that's how I found you, because I followed someone else first. And they pointed me in your direction.
I was really bad at checking out like BookTube newbie tags. I still am. There's some people that are really good about it, but I'm horrible.
And that's why my number one advice is to make sure you do the BookTube newbie tag. Because people will check you out and find you. I did not at the beginning, and I think that hurt my channel to some extent. Because like my first videos are ratchet, but like there are a lot of people with just some janky videos out there for their first videos that still kind of blew up. So it's one of those things, it's like it's who sees you when you're new. I think a lot of the times it has a lot to do with how quickly you grow.
Okay, so October 15th will be hi, Ro.
Hey, Ro.
October 15th will be 5 years.
Wow. We were like 11 days off. That's really funny.
Joint birthday party.
Something like that. I still haven't decided whether I am celebrating or not, because I'm just like, it's 5 years. I'm not even at 1,000 subs yet.
I'm still, I think, at 1.24 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not to be mad, but like I definitely have stagnated, and part of that is my own fault because I have not been as consistent this year and last year. But anyway,
I don't know who you're talking to, but I don't see that at all. Like you have like 4K sub energy, and I'm just like,
there are a lot of people that are our size that like have really good energy and really good videos and like thoughtful things that just like it's not necessarily that people are ignoring them. We just don't get seen as much because there's
an influx of content because of people trying out like TikTok and everything like that. So like, oh yeah, here's all the book talk books that I read, and I'm like, good for you, Becky. Good for you.
Yeah. Supposedly YouTube is making some changes that will make it easier for smaller creators to get noticed. They've been claiming that the last couple of months. I haven't seen it. But I am doing some experimenting with my thumbnails to see if like I can make them pop just a little bit more.
See, that's what I try to do. And Alec, if you ever want any advice on that, go to Alex.
Yeah.
100%. Because there have been times where Alex is like, yeah, I did this and then I did that. And I was like, dude, what? Like,
wow.
He watches so much YouTube.
I might have to reach out to him for some collab ideas. I'm doing, yes. I'm going to start doing, because it's been a while since I've seen like a BookTube 101 type series. So
yeah, you should definitely hit him up like because he watches a lot of YouTube and he knows that, like, he understands like the analytics and stuff. And so 9 times out of 10, I'm like sending him screenshots of stuff and I'm like, what does this even mean? And he's like, oh yeah, that's really good.
The analytics is something that, like, this, we were so off topic, but that topic, but that's fine. The analytics is something, like, when I'm watching the videos, this is entirely a part of, like, my brain. Like, I've watched so many videos on how to read your analytics and how to do this and how to do that, but my brain does not store that information. So, like, I know what I need to look at, and I have an idea. Okay, I know that this is going to mean something and can help me in some way. But I watch those videos at work and then forget which ones were the ones that told me what I wanted to know. So
that's my experience. The math just does not math.
Yeah. For me. So it's like if I sat down and actually did stuff, I think I'd be able to understand like I have some understanding of my analytics, but I'd have a better understanding of my analytics if I actually was applying things. I just don't have the time to do the experimentation and stuff that they like right now. Hopefully that will change soon, but anyways, we're here. Do you want to tell people why we're here?
We are here to talk about Shah and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi, the start of the Pandava series, which
yes,
wow,
quintet, I believe is what it's called.
It's not a quintet because there's 5 books.
Quintet is 5. Because it's
a quartet is
duology, trilogy, quartet, quintet.
See, this is where math does not math.
I think once you get past 4 books, they just call it a series.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, quintet. I'm sorry. Okay.
I got that good super conservative education with the Latin and stuff.
We didn't talk about anything like this when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And so when I remember I took what I think it was like Western Civilization, or it was Western Civilization in college, and I just was like floored because it was so much information that I'd never heard about before, that I'd never bombed that class so bad in college.
That's actually where I did a similar class in high school. Because that might have been college at that point. I was dual enrolled during high school. So what classes I did when at the junior college near me, not entirely sure, but like they always require like Western Civilization 1 and 2 were required at my college. And then you were required to take some other humanities, and something in my little brain said, let's look at this East-West synthesis class. And we did do an entire unit in that class on that ended up with us reading some of the Ramayana. Now, this was over a decade ago. Do I remember any of it? No, I didn't.
If I could go back, I'd be like, girl, you need to pay attention, because just go down the rabbit hole. Just let go. Yeah,
that one, for me, the thing that made the biggest impact in that class was actually when we started talking about Islam. And a lot of like Swana area culture and stuff that was going on there. That was what really, because that was such a direct contrast to obviously what I was being taught and told. Because my parents weren't super Islamophobic, but also I was in middle school when 9/11 happened. So, we had,
I was in like 3rd grade.
We had the American flag cut out from our newspaper and pasted on it. I probably still have it somewhere.
The literal amount of like Americana that went on for like 10 years after was ridiculous.
Let me see. Is this the one that has... No, this has all of the... Oh, apparently. This has all of the stuff from when Sasha Cohen was in the Olympics. And I think there's also in here somewhere...
It's okay. It's okay. I still have newspaper clippings from when Barack Obama became president, and also when that guy Sully or whatever like landed the plane. Wow, how old is that?
This it is from 2003, I think. So I was that. Oh my god, this is like wild. What do I? So much stuff about Lord of the Rings in here. Wow.
It's okay. I also had something like that for the other series, but with Tom Felton.
Oh, that series.
Just an absolute obsession. Why? Don't know.
I mean, I've read the books. I get the appeal. I understand why kids would read them and think they're fantastic. The books are not the problem. It's the author.
I mean, there's still problematic stuff in the book.
I mean, there is, but the author is the main problem.
Yeah, majorly.
Like, a lot of the stuff, I mean, like, a lot of the stuff in the books is what I call dumb white person shit. Where it's just one of those things where you're just like, you don't even know to think that maybe you should check that. Which you should.
And not as a kid, I wasn't. But now I'm an adult and I can read better shit, which is this.
Yeah, I'm gonna rephrase that. You should know, but you don't think to. You know what I mean? So
yes.
Like there's some stuff that I'm like, that's dumb white person shit. And then there's some stuff where I'm like, that's called a pattern.
Our childhoods were wild. Our parents just let us do whatever we wanted at some points of our lives. They were like, well, as long as you come home safe and alive, that's all that counts.
That is adorable. That was not my childhood. I was not even allowed to walk around my block. So,
well, I guess that's true. Yeah, because I had a similar upbringing where it was like, if I go outside and I look at any window and I don't see you, you're gonna get in trouble. Cool. Live out on a farm. Yeah.
Oh man, no, we had a halfway house, like literally one block catty corner from my block. So I get it to some extent, but at the same time, I now deal with issues because of that. My mother was very, very worried about stranger danger. So,
as was mine. If I didn't show up like 5 minutes after my supposed time,
yours had way better reason.
She had the FBI on speed dial.
Yours had way better reason, honestly.
True.
Just knowing the shit you told me about, yours had weight. Mine was just like, there are people who've been in prison down the street. I'm scared. Like, maybe Miss Christian Lady, it would have been a good idea to like go down and get to know some of them.
Because, but that would have to involve her talking to them.
And like, yeah, there's a whole lot of also trauma in my mom's life that translated her to her being a little bit more overprotective.
Helicopter.
Yeah, especially that plus the fact that I was chronically ill my entire childhood, and like
I'm also a helicopter
in a severe
mom,
way.
So, like, I get it.
I know, but like when you have a kid that has health issues and stuff they're dealing with, or is neurodivergent, sometimes you feel like you need to make sure that everything, like there's somebody there if something goes wrong. Like you want to be there. And I don't, like, I'm not a parent, so I don't know where that balance is. I can tell you now where I wish my mom struck that balance for me.
There really isn't. Like, you know that one meme where it's what's his name? It's that one guy where he was in acting in Community and he has that teeny tiny piece of paper and he's looking at it. It's like, that's the amount of people that I trust with my child. And there's like 2 people on that list. Speaking of children,
maybe we should talk about the one that's...
We should talk about this.
Good, I did bring my notes. Fantastic.
I also have my notes.
Your notes are way more than mine are. I'm trying to get to that level, but this is what I've got right now.
I have 6 pages of notes, but that's just because I write down every single emotion that I feel within the book.
Oh, I need to write that note down on the note card, though. I have a note here that just says, interesting how... Oh, no. Oh, that was the book part. Interesting how often we look for supernatural answers to war in response to stuff that was happening in the... Well, we can get to that.
Now I'm going to go to... Okay.
Okay.
Gotta shake it off. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like, wait, what? No.
Yeah, no. Just remind me to go back to that. But I have this much notes.
Okay. Well, I mean, some of mine are little drawings too.
I have some tabbies too for stuff that stuff that I liked. I love Aru and Minnie. Like, they are such great main characters. Like, I remember reading this the first time and just knowing that this book probably gets flack for Aru being a realistic 12-year-old girl.
She was the moment. Like, she is so funny, but also she's not serious though. But she in her head, she is so serious.
She's 12, and so for those that have not been on any live show where I've discussed this, I taught drama for a very long time. Not a very long time. I taught it for 3 years. That's not a long time. And I taught it before then too. But anyways, I have worked with many, many 12-year-olds, and I've experienced like just in the 3 years that I did work with my church, I had 2 girls that were the exact same age, 12, 13, when I was teaching them. One of them was like always in trouble. You could not get her to she was solely focused in on herself. You couldn't be like, just, she's 12. You couldn't blame her. It was like developmentally, like that's where she's supposed to be. The other one had so much, just like, because of stuff she'd been through. Because of stuff she'd been through, she was a very, very serious 12-year-old. Guess what? This is the one that's chronically ill. So like, I had both ends of the spectrum when it comes to girls that can be real serious and girls that are like they're not really thinking about what their actions mean. So it's one of those things that like, it was a constant struggle with one of those girls to get, well, they both had issues being there, but one of them was because she didn't remember to tell her mom about rehearsals, and one of them because she was actively in the hospital. So
I also just like when Aru talks about all of the stuff that she knows and like all of the stuff that she like, I was like, how is it that you have so much of this information stored up here in your noggin? Like, there's so much information, and she just remembers the stuff. Like, oh yeah, I saw a thing about this, or like, my mom was investigating. I'm like,
never underestimate a 12-year-old girl with a special interest, you know?
Her memory was so good, but also it's sad that like, you know, like she didn't forget anything, which means that like she didn't forget, you know, her mom being gone all the time, and you know, her mom, like, it was the stuff that involved like her mom not being kind of an absent parent, which is like, I feel so bad for her. And then you have Minnie, whose parents are like helicopter, like very up in her face. Like, it was a weird like, not dynamic, but a weird like thing.
Yeah, I feel like there are certain events in this book that are kind of a wake-up call for her mom, because you do get the impression that even though her mom loves her, mom is not as present at the beginning as she is towards the end. Even though like what mom needs to do for what's going on, it does not change. It's about like kind of about the reassurance, and there's a conversation that needed to have been had there, because like she's thinking of like, I think you have various stages that kids go through, and kids definitely go through a stage where I don't need you. Don't, okay, mom, it's okay. And they do that at various places in their life. So it probably was one of those things that like Aru had gotten a little bit more independent, and mom didn't think about the fact that, hey, she still needs you to check in and everything with all of that. Mom also seems like she has a lot of like tunnel vision. Like she's so focused on making sure that Aru's future is secure, she forgot about the present almost.
Yes. Yeah. There were like so many quotes that I wrote down too. Yeah. Also,
I just love how the biggest problem in her life at the beginning of this is that no one likes her. Like she feels like no one likes her and she has no friends. Like I was like, oh man, Roshani Chokshi just came out swinging.
Just, yep, right to the face, right in the feels, just right in there. Because I totally know what that's like. I think we all know what that's like when you're a certain age and no one likes you. It's like, what is it like to be popular?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, some of us were homeschooled and we didn't have a choice of who our friends were.
I didn't even realize that was a thing until I was older and somebody was like, oh yeah, I met this girl in college. She was homeschooled and she was really weird. I tried so hard to be her friend. I mean, ultimately it was just like a difference of like people and opinion, but like it was trying to explain stuff was different.
It is. That is really difficult. Like, I don't know. Me personally, I'm like, I either would have been really good at middle school or I absolutely would have sucked at it. Like, there would have been no in between for me.
I was not good at middle school.
So, like, yeah. Because, like, it's one of those things that, like, I remember in, like, middle school and high school that I was doing. I'd known everyone for so long that I was, like, a social butterfly. I knew so many people. Like I was kind of in the cool kids group because it had been the same 6 people for the last 7 years. And I'm like, and then I got to be older and start doing like other things towards high school and realizing that like when I'm in strange situations, suddenly it's like, well, I'd rather just sit here and observe and not do anything. Okay, I'm just going to watch y'all and I'll maybe find like the one person that I bond with and then I will follow them around everywhere. So like, yeah,
I think I was like 12 or 13 when I first started developing like social anxiety. So like the fact that like Minnie really just gets me because she's like, I'm always being left behind, and I was like, oh
yeah, that is so relatable. I remember that happening with friends and stuff.
Or, like
and,
people make open like plans with each other right in front of you, and are not like, oh hey, do you want to come with us? Nope.
It's funny, I don't mind that as much anymore. But like I remember distinctly there was a time, and this was actually in high school, where my friends knew that I wouldn't be able to go. So they didn't invite me at all. And we had to have a conversation about like, hey, could you at least ask? Because like maybe my mom will say yes. Like I don't care if I can go. I just want to be included.
It's just and they'll be like, oh well, your mom always says no, and it's like
and it wasn't necessarily that. It's just that they knew my mom was a lot stricter in what I got to watch and things like that, and I had to. Like my mom's rule was I was not allowed to drive with any of my friends until they were 18 and had their license a year. We definitely broke that rule out of necessity. The first time I was under 18, and it was one of those things that like we'd known her, like this was my best friend. Both times it was my best friend. And then the second time, like, so with her older sister, we finally got to a point where like, when I was like, you need to be driven. Hannah can drive you. It's fine. And then Hannah was my chauffeur for a very long time. And then with her sister, Rachel, who was a year younger than me, I was 18. I'm like, I can make this decision for myself. Because I didn't
my mom would always be like, who's driving?
Yeah.
And I had to be like, Hope.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like that girl, but okay. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's funny because like, I didn't get my license till I was 19 because there was no point in me having my license until I had a car because of the hike and insurance.
Now I have my permit.
Yay!
I got my permit, everyone.
That is so exciting. Listen, when you are driving for the first time by yourself, it is so like I was freaked out at the beginning of our alley because the way our block is we're down at this end and then you have the other end of the alley. Like, we have almost the entire block. So I'm going down the alley, and like, oh boy, this is weird. This is scary. And I got to about the end of the alley, and I was like, I can go where I want to go.
Last night we went to go pick up food and it was dark, and I'm like, I haven't driven in the dark in a very long time, and I'm like, I don't like it. There's too many the lights, and I can't. We did not get into an accident. There was nothing bad that happened, but I was just like, I don't like driving at night.
Night driving is weird, and like you'll feel like you'll think that you're used to it, and then you'll be like, nope, this is weird again. This is weird again. Especially if like you don't have to do it for, like, I didn't have, because of COVID, I didn't have to do it for a very long time. And now when I'm driving at night, I'm like, this is odd. This is kind of odd. Like, everything's dark. This is really weird. So, and it's funny because it only bugs me when I'm like at home in St. Pete. Like, we were in Utah, and I was like, yeah, everything is weird and different here. So that's fine.
Can you believe what was it, like in book 3? I wonder if when in book 3 that we get to see them driving, because you can drive at 14 in the state of South Dakota. I don't know about other states, but yeah.
I know. So in Florida, when I was getting my license, you could get your permit at 16, and you had to have it for a year before you could get your license. Or there was a test that you could pass, which is part of why I did not get my license till I was 19. Because I got my permit at 17 and then just never did the work that I needed to do to get my license.
I would be interested to see them drive.
That would be, we might towards the, like, I mean, like, because book 5 of the Percy Jackson series, we get to see Percy learning how to drive. So even though he's not 16 yet, sir. I
mean,
like, she's 12 in this one, right?
It's like, what can, like, where does this take place again?
So Aro is in Atlanta, which was surprising to me because for some reason I thought she was in London. But she is in Atlanta, and then I don't know where Minnie is from. I don't remember.
I think she's from like Connecticut or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's look at my little notes.
Are we going to be looking up, like, hold on. Let's
looking
find out.
Up the state of,
When can you get your license in Georgia? 16. Oh, okay. So you have to be at least 16 and have held a learner's permit for at least a year. And 1 day. Oh, here's one. Can you drive at 14 in Georgia? Oh, okay. So apparently in Georgia, you can start getting your driver education at the age of 14.
Yeah. We also had that too.
It lets you go as early as 14. So that does make sense, though, because 16 is the youngest you can get your driver's license, but you can probably get your permit much earlier here in Florida. That sounds like it might be a federal regulation.
But yeah, I want to say it was like Connecticut or Rhode Island, or she lives up in this, like, it was snowing, she said, when they went to go pick Minnie up.
Yeah, because it was winter. We go from like fall to winter.
Also, there's this, it says, gods and goddesses may occasionally help, but they don't mess around with affairs that only affect humans. To them, mortal lives are but a speck of dust on the eyelash. And in parentheses, it says, Eternals who?
That's funny. I'm actually not sure. Damn, who put this book together? Look at this mess. What is going on there? Somebody cut out. Oh, no, it's not they put it together. Somebody cut out the end paper.
That's weird.
Anyways. Oh, this is one of the ones that has the free little library stamp. I'm like, I'm sorry. If someone takes a book from your free little library, if you put a book in your free little library, you get to deal with whatever people are going to do with it. If they want to sell it.
Maybe it was autographed.
I don't. Anyways, so and, oh no, have you not seen like the sometimes free little libraries, like the people will get super snobby about people reselling books that they get there, so they'll put stuff in the back that says like, or stamp, they have stamps that they'll stamp. I've seen them like put it on all of the end papers where it'll be like, always a gift, never for sale. And I'm just like, you don't get to tell people what they're going to do with the book that you are giving away.
Yeah, no kidding.
Back, like I do get, like, there are people who, like, somebody just came and cleared out all of our books because there was a library that did that, and like it turned out to be like a used bookstore down the street, and that's not cool. But if I pick up a brand new book and don't like it and decide I want to sell it on Pango, you can't stop me, and I'm not going to pay attention to your bougie little stamp. Although I probably, most stuff I'm going to put in the free, if I get it from the free little library, I'm going to put it back in there if I don't keep it and forget. But anyways, I really did like Aru's character, and like the conflict that starts the whole thing seemed really relatable to me, because she's like, what's the problem with, like, nothing's going to happen if I light this lamp.
No, nothing bad's going to happen at all.
Nothing will happen. What's the worst that can happen? I'll light a lamp.
Did happen.
And then, yeah. And I liked how that played out. I know people like, yeah, I thought that was very clever and very smart, and I liked the way that it opened. But
there were a lot of little things in here that I just loved also.
I have so many pink tabs in this one. Pink tabs are for like when I think it's funny. Like,
oh, there were times I just straight up laughed out loud.
This is where Minnie is describing how they dealt with is it Auntie B? The demon that was giving me Medusa vibes. And it's like, scream, almost die, beat back a demon with a blow dryer. I'm like, this child. Oh my note is, this child is a delight. So
just the fact that Minnie was the daughter of death.
Yeah, and she's like freaking out about not dying, like.
And then she has to become like a doctor or something.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine though, like, because Minnie doesn't know she's a Pandava until like just a few weeks before this happens. So she's probably over here hyper fixated on death and not understanding why. Can you imagine what that does to a kid's head?
Anxiety. Why
am I always thinking about death? This is scary. I liked the contrast between her and Aru, where like she has like a very involved family, but at the same time she's still being overlooked because she's not the special child. And
the fact that like and the way that they process things are also very different as well.
Yeah.
And you see that like throughout all of the stuff that they encounter as well. Like there's some of the scenes that were like they did stuff that was like my absolute favorite, and this is what I love about any kind of like mythology series of this type, is that the way that things are explained.
Mm-hmm.
Because like with PJO, you see like different like elements from the old stories, but then incorporated into like weird locations, like when we were at the salon, and then the way like she looked through the mirror and saw like the true forms and like what was actually happening. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh,
and even then it wasn't the true form, right? Because Minnie, like, you didn't see what had actually happened until Minnie had her compact and was looking in the mirror. That was really interesting, that like to some extent this Asura is like not hiding it, but still hiding it, because like
it's like a glamour
faces, and it's still glamored. Like that's such an interesting kind of level of what's going on. I also, one thing that I noticed, that for a good portion of the book, Aru is actually very passive. Minnie is the one that does most of the work. I found that very interesting, because up until that final battle with the sleeper, like the Asura, Minnie's the one that really does the work for that. Some of the other stuff, I think the only other thing that Aru really does is when she's there in the Court of Seasons, and she's like her way out of that. That's which obviously shows off her powers. But it was really interesting to see that like Minnie is the one doing so much of the action when she's not like our point of view character. Because like the big cauldron, same thing.
Yeah, well, and also like their strengths and their weaknesses also play off of each other too. Like the stuff that Minnie would have never been able to talk herself out of that whole like the whole season situation. But like Aru handled it just like nothing.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes that I actually wrote down is ignorance hadn't been bliss. That's funny. Okay. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to notice that like it felt like, I don't know, it felt like for some of it Aru didn't have as much agency as Minnie did, because Minnie would know how to do like fix so many of the problems because they would be like science-y problems.
Well, and some of that I think is just like a reflection of like what just the absence of her mom and the absence of a parental figure.
Yeah.
Like she talks about her mom and she talks about the security guard. Like those are her references for like adults.
Yeah. I also think this child has ADHD, but that might just be me.
I think the exact same, honestly.
I know she probably didn't give her ADHD because she didn't want to be another, like, because it's tied to Rick Riordan and she didn't want to be, it's like Percy Jackson 2.0, like too many correlations between Percy Jackson, which is smart, I understand. But at the same time, the way that this child is written, I'm like, she's actually more a picture of what that looks like.
I think there were certainly nods to it as well, because there's certain parts where you're like, Percy? Are you there?
There were certain parts. No? Okay. It wasn't necessarily like, I mean, like, obviously she has that really cool, witty sense of humor. I absolutely adore, like, I just love that sort of narration and sense of humor and stuff. But, like, there were times that I was like, child, did you think that was really impulsive? The way that you don't want to take a step back and maybe think about this? No? Okay.
You're questioning this and you're reading and then something happens and you're like, oh.
Like,
okay.
Like they're just for places where I was like, child, that was a very ADHD move.
Very just, yep. Also, I love this line that I wrote. It said, I want to kick every 12-year-old for making Minnie cry ever.
Can we get them in the same school so they can team up?
I don't know. I do know that there's a third one comes into the second one. I read like 10 pages, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, and I wasn't able to make through because I was like,
well, I mean, we see her. We do see one of the. I assume we're going to get another, because there's 5 books. We'll get another sister every single book, and then the final book will be all 5 of them together. Is what I'm assuming is going to happen. We did see a third sister at the end with the bow and arrow. Remember?
Yes, and you actually have all of them in one scene of Aru's vision.
Yeah, we do have that. I remember that. But she only recognizes Minnie, that was like a heartbreaking vision for her to be like, everyone turns against me if I kill this dude. It's like, whoops. Oh, talk about deadbeat dads. Yikes. Not that he had a choice, but I don't know. I feel like if your first thing after waking up after 11 years is to freeze the love of your life and then terrorize your child, maybe you shouldn't have Dad of the Year.
When I found that out, I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a interesting thing that just happened. But it also, like, so very true to, like, mythology and folklore. Like, think of how many times, like, one parent will be, like, they'll have, like, especially, like, the ones that come to mind for me, especially, is, like, Norse mythology, where you'll have one of the parents is on one side of a conflict and one of the parents is on the other side of a conflict. I think there's some of that with some of, like, the Aesir versus the Vanir stuff going on. It's been a long time since I actually sat down with Norse mythology.
Yeah, same. Also, I wrote down, Minnie is a brilliant chemist.
Mm-hmm. What part was that?
I think that was when they went to the event guy, the guy who like wrote all of their karma stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Their events that happened in their life, or like what's supposed to happen in the future.
Gupta.
Yes.
The guy when they get to death and he gives them the tablets and all of that. Nice.
I loved his "What This Is What a Feminist Looks Like" T-shirt. So I actually drew that. I actually drew that in my notebook here. Where is it? This way. Oh, is he here? There we go.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. I love the fact, like, oh, that's cute. I also, can we just give kudos to Roshani Chokshi for being able to do that whole chapter where everything had to be in rhyme and being able to do that on multiple levels of difficulty. Like, it takes a certain amount of skill to do things well, and then it takes even more skill to be able to do something you do well and do it badly in a good way.
She must have had so much fun just sitting there coming up with this stuff.
Oh my god. Yes.
Because I remember there was one Insta post where she had this like, she had one of those like, I just murdered my husband like dramatic robes, you know, with the the tool and the. I bet she was sitting there just like typing away like that.
That is funny. That is funny. Speaking of Chiragupta, that brings us back to I think that's how we say the name. That brings us back to that quote that I had highlighted where it was talking about like it's very. Let's see. There it is. Yes. Oh, sorry, Chitragupta. Where
there is a glossary, so we could look up how to pronounce it.
Yes, page 98 is where I am. But where like it's really interesting how like stuff like World War II, you see this book, you see Percy Jackson, you see a lot of them like sit there and go, yeah, well these events were so terrible. Clearly, like the gods were involved somehow. Like supernatural forces are why these terrible, terrible things happen. And I think that that's interesting to some extent. But at the same time, it does kind of excuse how awful humanity can be.
Yeah, I mean, that is something interesting that you brought up about wars, though, because I have read a couple other, like, Rick Riordan Presents, and just the amount of stuff that happens behind the scenes with different wars that have happened, you see a lot of, like, those correlations of, like, yeah, this happened, and it was really terrible, but it was during this war, and then everything's fine.
Yeah. It's interesting how we're always trying to find like a super, like it goes back all the way to the Bible, and other. I mean, that's my reference point. I'm sure there are other religious or cultural touchstones for stuff like that. But like having like obviously we have a war because a god is angry. You know, Troy versus the rest of Greece. I actually don't know how much of Greece they were against.
I don't know. But yeah, it says the last claiming was before World War II. Yeah. So I'm like just going on. I'm just interested to see like how many things happened during World War II that like other authors will also touch on in their series.
Yeah. And I think that like having small things, like in those wars that go right or go wrong because of stuff, I think that that's an interesting thing to like do with your world versus having like we do in Percy Jackson in the which one of the books do they talk about that? There's one book where they talk about, I think it's the Titan's Curse, where they're talking about how it was like World War II happened because it was Zeus and Poseidon against Hades, or no, it was Zeus and Poseidon's like descendants or children, demigods against Hades.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting reason for them to not have any more kids. But at the same time, it's one of those things that's like, no, just people were terrible and fascism was taking hold all over the world.
And then meanwhile, Hades hid his kids inside the Lotus thing, hotel or whatever.
I honestly, if their half sibling was Hitler, I would also have hidden my children because people were going to come after them. Like, I feel so bad for Hades because he's the only one in the Greek mythology that is not.
He's the only dad that gave half a shit about his kids.
Yeah,
like, he is boasting about it.
Of the big three dudes, he is the least problematic of them. He has one wife. He doesn't cheat on her, as far as I am aware. He may have. He kind of kidnapped her, unless you want to do a feminist retelling of that. But still, like, that's the worst thing that he's done. So it's like he doesn't have the absolutely ridiculous history that even some of like the good gods have, like Athena, where it's like you turn someone into a spider just because she was better at something than you.
Oof.
Or because she made fun of you.
Ow.
Like, like some of them, like it just, yeah. And like I like how some things like Medusa has been like there have been people who kind of reinterpreted it to be a more feminist meaning, but at the same time, ma'am,
when you're being one of those girls, it's like I can't feel sorry for you, man. You probably deserved it.
And it's funny because like it's one of those things that we as people never questioned, like the fact that okay, like in general humanity hasn't questioned until recently the fact that like your god could be terrible and awesome at the same time. And I mean awesome in the word of like meaning like awe. In the religious sense, not the like, hey, they're real cool. But that is something that you see in religion a lot. And it's very interesting to kind of have these come in and be like, nah, they're just shitty people. They have all this power, but they're just dicks.
One thing I really liked, aside from like the war and all that, is just the amount of like, I always love a good family dynamic and like when family is brought up in books, that is my like bread butter. I love how Chitragupta was like, did you eat? And like how Minnie was like, I think we're related. And he's like, well, I have like 14, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, maybe we are related. And that for me, that was like,
it was adorable.
Yes. Because there's so many times like us, like I know this is Hindi, but like in my families, we'll be like our point of connection is like, who is your grandfather? Or so we'll like trace it back and then be like, oh well, I guess we're something cousins. It doesn't matter how far you are in the space of like lineage. That could be like after for regular people that are not people of color, like white people are like, oh, that's my 5th cousin. We're not even really related. Or like, that's my cousin's dad's husband, wife, whatever. And I'm just like, no, that's my cousin. It doesn't matter how far away we are, that we're related. That's weird.
It really depends on like which white culture you come from and like how your family, because like I know with my family, like we have a huge extended family on my mom's side. I don't know most. Like I know my mom's immediate siblings and their kids and some of their cousins. We are not close anywhere at any point. Like my older so there's a definitive like gap between me and my next oldest cousin, because my next oldest cousin was the one that was old enough to actually go up during the summer to spend time with the grandparents, and I wasn't there yet. If my mother would have let me do that at all. But like my grandmother, my mom's mom died right as Wes was old enough to do his first summer up there or whatever it was. So like her sister's kids and then like all of my older cousins are way close, like really much closer and like know each other. Like meanwhile, there's me and my brother and we're just like, yeah, we're here. They also grew up like both of her brothers lived in Jacksonville. So like they know each other way more. But like we did have like people, like my mom's cousins were also my cousins, but we didn't know past that.
But yeah, I totally know what you're talking about, because like that's kind of how it is with like on my like wine rice side, is like everybody, all the cousins know each other. They're all super duper close. And then I show up, the only brown kid shows up to the family reunion like, hi. I brought nothing, but I'm here. Hey, remember you tried to drown me once? How you doing? You're a councilman? Okay.
Oh boy. I mean, I was convinced that two of my cousins were going to murder each other at the age of 6. So they were siblings, and they always fought in ways that I was not allowed to fight with my brother. But like my mother has so many family members, and I have no idea how she manages to keep track of all of them. I'm just like, I have enough trouble keeping track of myself and you and Dad and Ben. That's
it.
As much
That's
as I can handle.
And then
that is the difference between an extrovert and an introvert.
He's like, yeah, I have X amount of family members, so maybe we are related. And I'm like,
that's so cute. And then Aru has been, it's so funny because like I love how that brings up another thing, like how Aru and Minnie are both looking for family, but for different reasons. Like Minnie feels kind of overlooked, and she wants someone who sees her as she is, and like someone who's just gonna like not judge her. And then Aru is like, I need companionship and friendship. Please be my friend. And it's like, it's
the fact that they gave each other exactly what they needed / wanted, and like didn't even like, it wasn't not even a concept. Not until Aru really pissed Minnie off, and then Minnie was like, I'm going. I don't care about you. Bye. See ya.
Was really mean, honestly, because what pissed Minnie off, I don't feel like was actually in Aru's control, if I remember correctly.
I think it was the regret thing. Wasn't it?
Oh, right? That's right, because she lied. She thought she felt like she lied to herself because she didn't tell her that she was the one that lit the lantern. Well, that's not necessarily Aru's fault that she doesn't know how serious it is. That's on her mom. Not that I'm expecting a 12-year-old to really make that distinction. I understand why that would be hard.
Also, I love the culture, like the Hindi culture, and how, which goes back into what I said earlier about like how they're always being fed by the gods, by the deities, by Chitragupta. They're like, here, eat something. Here, eat something. That was the exact same thing in my family. So I was like,
I want to know why white people are not like that. Like, what happened? At what point? Because so many cultures is like, oh, you come over, you have food. Like, what happened to us? What? Colonialism happened to us. We would have with people we didn't want to share with.
Because I know there's some. I think it depends on how long it's been for that family since their grandparents or whoever came over. Because there's some families where I've seen where their family's been here since yada yada, like 16 blah blah blah, and they're like so disconnected. And then there's somewhere like they came over in like right before World War II, and then they're like super close knit. So I think that's also like a big difference, which stems into a whole thing about like immigration. But just the fact that they were like feeding each other, and like I just thought that was just adorable. And then also the fact that like Minnie was that like making sure that she drank something because of dehydration.
Oh my god, when Boo is like, hydrate! Pandava's hydrate at the end of the book. It was so cute.
She said, you're my sister. It's my familial duty to make sure you survive.
And I'm over here like, Minnie, worry about yourself more. Aru's got this. That child. I would do a Minnie for president.
She's smart enough for sure.
So, this really had me wanting to read. Right, Mom sent me that yesterday. I just got a text message from my mother that is from yesterday when I locked my father out. Whoops! I thought he was inside. He had a key. It's fine. That distracted me, and now. Oh, so like, I'm definitely considering picking up the Ramayana at this point, because like I know I read either from the Ramayana or the Mahabharata at one point, and I'm like, I need to go back and read those again, like the whole thing.
It'd be definitely interesting for you to do, to like read the series and then read that and then be like,
Yeah, I was definitely Googling stuff as we're going through trying to figure out, like, okay, what is the original? What is Chokshi's take on it?
I did not Google anything. I was like, you are taking me on a ride, and I am just with my hands up, going like, just flailing.
Meanwhile, I'm over here. Like, it's just interesting to see how much of it gets gender bent. In this,
Also,
because
there
like
was
I
a
know.
Trump reference.
I remember seeing that. I know that like when they did, where is her name? Madam B. That's who it is. But when they're doing, what's her name? I think it's Basara. The original, the hair salon person, the original myth was actually a dude. Because I was sitting there going, oh, it's really interesting that every mythology kind of has like this Medusa-like character. And I was like, oh, was not a woman in the original. Might have jumped the gun a little bit more in that one, too, in that one. Because it's a very different mythology than what is in, like, very divorced from, like, what they are dealing with Medusa. But it's always interesting that, like, how powerful women are portrayed in mythology. I have Kei to read here in a bit, and I'm really excited to just kind of see that too, which is another reason
Maybe
why
I need to look into that too.
Yeah,
because I did not look into anything. I was like, I am here for the entire ride. I don't know.
Nice. I like knowing what the original stuff was, and this is obviously somewhere where I am way out of my wheelhouse.
But it's good to learn. But it's good to learn new things when you're older.
Oh no, I'm not saying that like it's any sort of bad thing. That's part of why I like reading these, is because it tells me like this is a good for me personally. I feel like stuff like this is a good starting place. Like I went into Percy Jackson because I liked Greek mythology, but even if I hadn't known a lot about Greek mythology, Rick does a really good job of getting things across, and I think Roshani Chokshi does a very good job of getting things across in this as well. So I think these are fantastic places if you want to get an idea of more stuff to learn about. These are great books to like pick up, and then I think
this
also
and like we're gonna read it. We're gonna read it later on, but I just also wanted to like, which one was it? Oh my god, it's the one by it's the one with Mesopotamian,
the City of the
Iranian. But that one also like those are there was that one, and then there was the one that Rebecca Roanhorse wrote, but the one that
Race to the Sun
one, yeah, which that one has like some discussion about stuff that like shouldn't have been brought up via culture, but like I'm trying to remember.
I remember seeing that, and then I went and I read like I looked at some of her interviews, and I looked at like she actually her sensitivity reader went and vouched for her. And then she was talking about in an interview, she's like, I was very careful about choosing what to include in both that and the Sixth World, like making sure that it was stuff that was already part of the popular consciousness, like stories that they had released themselves. So, no, it gets into if you go, I don't know how much you know about the situation, but like I know it does get into some possible anti-Blackness, just because the main tribe that she's had connection with is the Navajo tribe, because that's her husband's tribe, and that's his family brought her in, and she was actually, I believe, adopted out, so she didn't even connect with the tribe until she was an adult.
Yeah, and she's also had beef with Debbie Reese. I've read some of the stuff, and I'm like, ugh. Okay, I'm gonna find the book really quick, but
okay. Yeah. She's part of the reason I stopped following Debbie Reese, because I noticed that she was targeting a lot of Black authors, both native and not.
It's this one.
Yeah, City of the Plague God. That's
Sarwat Chado. Yeah. This one also explains like the culture really well. Like I said, this is the only other one aside from the Race of the Sun one that I've read, but this one is one of my like top favorites.
Didn't you read Tristan Strong with us too?
No.
That was during your slump, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was during my slump. So I'm like,
Well, the good news is this way you only have to read one book at a time.
It's true. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, Rebecca Roanhorse, it's an interesting conversation, but based on the research that I have done, I feel like she seems to be staying in her lane. You know what I mean?
I haven't read anything else aside from that and her other story that was in Ancestors Approved, but
yeah. The Sixth World series is very, very good. Like, I'm still waiting for the third book to come out.
Whenever it comes out.
Whenever she feels like continuing, because, like, it's a better ending than Trail of Lightning had, but it still feels like there's more story there. I don't blame her if she decided that she didn't want to do that, like, especially with all the controversy and people pushing back the way that they did. But yeah.
So, but yeah.
Do we have any other notes?
Have any? Well, like I said, I had 6 pages of notes, but most of it was like little weird thoughts. You know, like when you're like yelling at the TV.
Oh yeah,
like,
I have one.
They did that. That's my.
I have also, one that says, "Nice that it didn't take them the whole chapter to figure this out." I have no reference for what that is talking about. Where? Which
Sometimes
chapter?
I write down the page.
I didn't.
I was right down the page.
Like, I'm just sitting there going, what is this about?
I love that scene where Minnie runs into a pole for looking at that alligator boy or whatever.
And then Aru's like, yeah, you definitely made an impression on him.
Yeah. But I love, like I said, I love the locations and like all of the stuff that they do. Like all of the stuff that she wrote in to tell a story, but also use like modern things. Yeah. Like a Costco and like a carnival setting. I was like, this is really cool.
Yes, I liked how that was incorporated. It's always fun to see how each person is going to do that. Like Kwame and Balia does it by just having things in a completely separate world, and those things, the people from that world are able to come into ours. You have like Roshani Chokshi and Rick who kind of do like the worlds are the same, but there's something separating us, like so that normal people can't see us or see it. So it's really interesting just to see how that kind of plays out in different ones. I liked the fact that like this specifically, they're like how she chose like, okay, so they're reincarnations and like figuring out like, okay, you have like multiple, like a very complicated family structure almost, because you have like your home parents and then you have your celestial parents. And I thought that was really interesting kind of to have there, especially for kids that are like, well, I live with these people, but like they are not the people who birthed me or whatever.
Well, and then you also just have like Aru's how much she knows about like Arjuna and everything that happened in the background, and how she's like, well, I'm not like them. She does that multiple times throughout this thing because she knows that like she knows that she's not she's what is that word? She's not
she's comparing herself to an adult.
Yeah, like full adults and like things like they've done.
You should have had time, kiddo, to mature and stuff.
You're 12. You don't have to be all of those things.
It's also interesting that they end up, and I say this having read first yet, but like they end up alone surprisingly early for like a chosen one type story, I feel. Like a lot of the time you think about like Star Wars, you think about Aragon, the mentor ends up making it through most of the book, of course, then they die. So probably better for Boo. But it was interesting to see how she was like, yeah, well, we're going to use the chosen one trope, but we're not going to be beholden to it. And we're going to change some of these things up. Again, this is why I want to go back and read the source material, because I want to see how much of this is like she's twisting the trope and how much she's sitting there actually using structure from the original source material. Because I know
I'm going to continue on just like going on a ride, and you can tell me, you can be the reference.
I'll be the one that's like, so this is the cool thing about this. So, I don't remember.
And I'll be like, hey, look at this cultural reference that I also
done real well.
Referenced as well.
Yeah. It's funny. I like, that's one of the fun things that's like interesting to be like have these books, and even though neither of us are Indian, neither of us are Desi, we still are like relating to different things like about her, like relating to like, oh yeah, I understand being an awkward preteen and all of that stuff. And it's fun to see how some of that is kind of like it's human experience, and shows that we are
yeah, that's right,
more the same than we are different.
Also, I wrote down in my review how I liked seeing how their differences helped them thrive, and then how they made choices that kept them safe, because they were never in any like super bad, horrible danger until like the very end of the book. But they made like really calculated choices, and I'm like, I can't imagine making I cannot imagine at 12 years old that I would have made any choices that would have been smart, that would have saved my life, because I would have been a bumbling fool and died like within the first like third of this book.
We're all like, yeah, I'm glad that I have not ended up a demigod for my particular mythology or folklore, because I'd die. That is an interesting point to make, because they definitely like, I feel like with why am I blanking on his, oh my god, Percy, with Percy Jackson, I'm sorry, it's late, with Percy, like every single encounter it's with some monster and it's like life or death. Meanwhile, in this one we have like some that are super dangerous and some that like we go to see the guy that has the ants. I can't remember what his name is.
The what?
The guy with the ants. What is his name? Valmiki. There he is. Valmiki.
Okay.
Like he's not a like antagonist. He's not a foe for them to fight. He's just someone who may be able to help them, and that challenge is kind of more in the vein of real, like how real mythology stories and real like epic poems go, where it's like you have to sit here and argue with this really weird hermit to get what you need. So I like, that's an interesting thing to kind of point out, that like it's a little bit more varied and they're not actively facing death every single time.
I also really liked their weapons. Yeah, what they got. That was pretty cool, and especially how they make something like very non-dangerous until it's like towards the end, and then it's like, oh no, this is a weapon.
Oh, I have a lightning bolt.
Yeah, or a gigantic spear, but like it's cool.
Oh man, it was really funny. Like when Aru was talking about trying to get Varja, I believe is how you say it, the lightning bolt, to like do certain things, and like it kind of has a mind of its own. I'm like, wow.
Every single weapon in every single mythology that I've noticed, like read, the weapon has a mind of its own and is always sassy and hilarious.
It is. I love it. I love how like without it being like the talking sword from Magnus Chase, it still is a weapon that has a personality and fits with what the character has. So, anyways, any other thoughts? We've already gotten through my.
What did you rate this?
Oh, this is 5 stars. I got 5 stars.
Mine was a 5 too, I think. I actually don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a 5 though.
I don't know what this note means either. Like it says,
it was a 5.
We are drawing a line between mom's neglect and Aru's views. Oh, okay. Like how her mom treats her affects how Aru views other people. Do I remember where that happened or what that was about? No. I need to.
I think it definitely plays a part when, like, his thing of like, as soon as you throw this, you're gonna regret it, or that, like that.
Yeah. I also don't think that Minnie was right about the curse from the forgetting guy, like being what stopped her. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know. Like, I think she very much made the case for like it was because Aru hesitated. I think that's going to be work in her favor at the end of the day. Like, it sounds like we're trying to reunite. Like, Roshani Chokshi at some point wants to kind of reunite this family or redeem the sleeper to some extent. But it's interesting to like, was that like her hesitation or was her weapon trying to protect her? Because like maybe it recognized some truth in what the sleeper was saying that she didn't. Or maybe she recognized some truth and subconsciously was like, stop. So
that could be very true. And then we have the second book.
Yes, we do. We have the second book. But I think, anyways, the point of that is I don't think that the vision that she saw is going to come to hand because she did not kill him.
I think this is a Barnes & Noble exclusive.
Is it?
That has an extra. There's one where it has like an extra chapter or something like that.
Let's see. I just have coming soon in the spring of 2020.
Mine has a bonus scene.
Nice. Mine does not.
I can only send you the bonus scene.
Cool. That'll be. Yeah, read it and let me know if it's like anything important. But this is our book for next month, which we're in as of right now. This is September.
Right now.
We were supposed to have this one done in August, but I am terrible and need deadlines to actually get things done. So
we were playing it very loosey-goosey, but we are hoping to catch up within the next couple weeks with each other.
Yeah.
At the beginning of October. So just look out for that.
This is how it happened. I had to message Thor and be like, hey, if we don't set a date, I'm not finishing this book.
And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I'd finish it like, what was it, the day after the last sprint?
You finished it by the time we had the next sprint a week later.
That's true. So,
anyways.
This one is supposed to be pretty good, obviously.
I am so excited because I remember putting this down and wanting the next book right away, which is why The Song of Death is one of my Vaultathon picks for starting tomorrow. It's my audiobook. But
I don't know what I'm supposed to be reading. I just need to actually sit down with myself and be like, listen, you're not going to read all these books within the last part of the month. Pick one and go.
Pick Raybearer because that's the Vaultathon group book. You need to read that one.
I still have to get it. So, yeah.
Right. Anyways, I'm very excited. So.
As am I. So, do we have any other thoughts?
I have no other thoughts.
I don't have any other thoughts either. I'm just really excited for the second book.
Sometimes we have shouted conversations through our doors. It's fine.
There was no sound, and I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, because my dad was asking me, he was shouting through the door whether or not I would need the back door key because he has it currently. He's been keeping it with him because apparently I've locked him out. He's locked himself out, and he does not have the backup person to let him in, which is my mother right now because she's out of town.
It sounds like you need a solution for that.
I probably, I don't ever use that particular key because I probably shouldn't tell you, but the locks on all our back and front door are the same. So we have one key that's kind of like our spare key. And then I have my keys aren't there. On my keychain with my car keys and everything, they're downstairs. It's fine. I know where they are.
No one knows where you live, Margaret.
Yeah, I have Oh no, I was just like, wait, where are my keys for a minute? Because they're supposed to be back there. But
the only way I would ever find out where you lived is if I knew your parents' names, and the fact that I don't, so like I can't.
I'm pretty sure I can just look up your parents' names. Something. So technically, you do have my address. I'm not worried about you finding. You're not weird. You're just weirdos on the internet sometimes. No,
yeah, if I have your address, I forgot to write it down. That's my bad.
Oh, that's funny. No, I have a key. I have a house key on my keychain with my keys because I live here.
Everyone does, yeah.
But we do have an extra key that I do take sometimes when I go jogging. Like if I'm going to be going jogging and no one is up yet, I'll use that key because it's just one key instead of my giant ass keychain with all of my. Like I have more keychains on there than I have keys, honestly.
I have on my keychain, I have my library card, a grocery store pump card because the grocery store and the gas station are like aligned or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I have a GameStop keychain that I need to take off of there because I don't shop. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then I have the keychain that I got for My Heart is a Chainsaw release. Oh, nice. And I need to add this one to it.
Oh, now. Nice. Which one is that?
It's
White Horse.
White Horse.
Cool. I have one of those from my friend's book that came out a really long time ago. Where is it? I went up to see her and she's like, she signed my book for me and then she sent me, she's like, here's the bookmarks. Aha, there it is. I have this one. She gave me two.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. It helps if you can see the actual, like, does it want to focus? No, it doesn't.
It looks like a princess.
It's a retelling of Hamlet, so that's a feeling. Nice. But I lost one because it fell off because I beat my keychains up. But yeah, I was going somewhere with that. I don't remember where I was going.
Keys.
We were talking about keys and keychains. Speaking of keychains, the keys of death. That's what we were looking for in this book.
Oh yeah.
It looks like we're going underwater. I just realized that's coral.
Oh.
And there's a crab.
A really scary looking crab. I would die.
That's so funny. No, you said, library cards. So my library card is no longer on my keychain because it was so old. It literally like the library card part, like it had come apart. And so like the plastic that had the numbers on it was starting to flake off. And I don't have my extra. I don't know what I did with my extra one of those. So I just have to use my regular library card now.
They gave us, like, it comes with two of the...
Yeah, the keychain one.
Keychain and a card. I lost my card a very long time ago. It was in a sweater, and it just... I don't know what happened to it. Mm-hmm. So now I just have the one on my key, and that's the one I use all the time.
Yeah, I used to use my one on my keys all of the time, and then I had to get rid of it because you could not scan it any longer. Like, the numbers were not there. Anyways. Anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Okay. We're going to say bye?
We can say bye.
Bye.
Do you have anything you want to plug on your channel?
No.
No, you don't. Yeah, okay. We'll be back for sprints at some point.
We will be back for sprints, so look out for those.
And you're a co-host for Vaultathon.
I am. The very last Vaultathon that there is.
The very last Vaultathon starts tomorrow. If you are interested in Hercules or Ray Bearer by Jordan Ifueko, check out the announcement video on my channel, which is right here. That's me.
And we've been friends for a very long time, so hopefully you're already plugged in. And if you're not, what are you doing?
I mean, I feel like people see you on my channel a lot more than I've been on yours, so they probably know your face a lot.
That's true. I'm not good at doing things with other people on my channel. Mm-hmm. I need to get better at that.
We will work on that.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
We'll work on that.
Okay. Say goodbye. Bye.